In addition to selecting a student to speak to the graduates each year also select a member of the school's faculty to address them on the final day at the School of Public Policy. And this year, for the second time, the students have selected Professor Christopher Foreman. Chris Foreman is a professor at the school and directs the social policy program. He came to the school in 2000 after more than a decade at the Brookings Institution. His book, Signals from the Hill, Congressional Oversight and the Challenge of Social Regulation, won the D.B. Hardeman Prize for the best book on Congress. And on top of that, a little secret, he's also a superb organist. And it's with great delight now that I give you Professor Chris Foreman.
Oh my God. Let me say how gratified I am to be able to address you on this occasion. I say that for two reasons. First, it seems enough of you apparently thought me worth listening to for at least 5 more minutes. Second, I'm always happiest to talk when I don't have to assign any reading. If I assign it to you, that means I have to read it too, and then everyone ends up less happy. What I want to convey today, I suppose, comes down to a stance easily grasped but challenging to execute: pragmatic perseverance. Most of you came here because you want to make the world a better place, or at least that's what you said in all of those application essays I read. You've acquired here some specific skills that will help you. But critical things that we cannot so easily teach include, first, the good judgment necessary to interpret a situation correctly and respond appropriately, and secondly, the fortitude, indeed sometimes the iron stomach, necessary to engage the world and its problems and the inevitable setbacks that you must face as you make your way. Certainly, managerial or policy success, when and if it comes to you, will almost always be partial and hard-fought, with the work, whatever it is, never really being fully done. As you absorbed in various ways from many of us, after every success of policy creation, there should come attention to implementation and evaluation. You must contend with those who would ignore these. And as many of you have learned in my class specifically, policy victories can only be sustained over time by creating political environments that continue to nurture them over time. All of this takes pragmatic perseverance. You all know that the United States, for all its power and success, remains a deeply imperfect enterprise. You also know that much of what is imperfect about it stems from things that resist easy modification or strategies of compensation. They include decisions made decades or even centuries ago, the attachments and expectations that form around these, collective cultural predispositions, and the unavoidable fact that human freedom entails the freedom to behave unwisely. That includes, I regret to say, the freedom to embrace and take refuge in sometimes destructive expectations and identities. Yes, African American children can achieve academically and must be discouraged at every step from embracing a self-image that proclaims otherwise. By the same token, many of us recall how many gay men in the 1970s and 80s would regularly and self-destructively embrace an otherness that held them as somehow beyond the need for committed relationships. You remember the routine: marriage. We don't have any marriage. We don't need any marriage. We don't have to show you no stinking marriage. When something desirable and theoretically possible seems nevertheless unattainable, it is a natural defensive response to dismiss it as unwanted. The combination of a vast and heterogeneous democracy with a vibrant market economy means that each of us has many ideas, affinities, and products from which to choose. It also means that each of us must tolerate a great deal that we do not like. Were I writing on a blank slate a constitution for the United States, I certainly would not have engineered anything like our current electoral process. I would not have singled out gun rights, certainly not with anything resembling the current language. All other stable democracies manage to thrive without it, and so far appear at no risk of descent into tyranny as a result. And needless to say, I would have looked with extreme disfavor at any provision allowing some people to own other people as property. But the country into which I was born 61 years ago had been designed with these things built in, and both you and I have no choice but to cope as best we can with their legacy effects. And one more thing. This perseverance by you is not just about you. Remember all those application essays again. You will take away from this institution, I hope, an enhanced skill at forging and nurturing cooperative endeavors of all kinds. At this very same occasion, 1 year ago, my faculty colleague, Rob Sprinkle, Professor Rob Sprinkle, uttered words that I swore to repeat were I ever again privileged to stand before you as faculty speaker. I quote, "We are members of a cooperative species. Our lives are nearly wall-to-wall cooperation, and our disputes, civil and criminal, are mostly about failures to cooperate, failures to get along, to do one's duty, to obey laws, to fulfill contracts, to play fairly, and to pay fairly. We compete mostly by out-cooperating others." Unquote. I close with my summary point now obvious. The pragmatic perseverance I urge upon you has one overarching purpose: creating and sustaining the cooperation essential to the equitable thriving and indeed the collective survival of our species. Thank you and good luck.